Welcome to Almost Functional Gaming. We aim to help all followers of Russ and the Allfather to improve on the tabletop. List building, tournament recaps, unit reviews, weekly council of the Fang, and other tips to help us all go from almost functional to fully functional. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, check out our merch store and Almost Functional score tracker on Amazon.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Almost Functional 40K. We had the Dataslate and a bunch of FAQs and MFM drop yesterday. So just going over how that affects Wolves directly and maybe a little bit indirectly. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and look at the points changes. So let's pull this up. All right, so Sisters went down. That's not good for us. I mean, it's only a couple spots. Sisters were a tough matchup for us, especially in the hands of a really good player. So nothing here is like really great. Retributors going down. Plus, they got some rule changes, so that could be a bit of a problem. Stode's got a little bit of a drop. That's sometimes a tough game for us. AdMech went up some points. I haven't seen a lot of AdMech lately. Eldari going down. Other than Swooping Hawks went up, but pretty much everything else went down. The Void Weavers went up 5 for the 5-man and down 10 for the 10-man. So you'll still see those. So not really much affecting Eldar. I think they're really in a really good spot. Guard, the Rogel Thorns went up, and then some, like a lot of the big tanks went down. So Guard lost a couple points. I don't think that's a major change. Really affects them too much. Templars, nothing. Blood Angels, Sanguinary Guard went up. That's good for us. They were in the melee mirror, the thing that they relied on a lot to come after us. And you'll see Blade Guard went up 10 points when we get down Marines. So Sanguinary Guard and Blade Guard are what you saw a lot of the times in Blood Angels list. They gave us problems. We could still win those games. I had a decent record into Blood Angels, but this just makes it a little easier. Chaos Demons, Keepers, Secrets went down. Fiends went down. Chaos Knights, no change. Chaos Marines, Abaddon went down, Venom Crawler, and you see Land Raiders all across the board. Everywhere went down. Dark Commune went up. Not major effects to us. Dark Angels, Ravenwing, Dark Shroud went down. I don't think this really affects us much. The matchup pretty much stays the same. Death Guard got no touches and points. Deathwatch got cheaper. In the hands of a really skilled player, Deathwatch could be a problem. And now they're going to have another unit. Possibly 2, depending on how they built their list in the list. Drukhari, their book's about to come out, so this is probably in line with what's coming for it, I'm guessing. Emperor's Children got some drops. Some of their demons. Fulgrim went down. He also got a rule change. Land Raider went down. Lord Cacophonus went up. I don't think this majorly affects anything. Genestealer's Cult. Pure Train and Abominants went down. Ridge Runners and Jackals went up. Metamorphs went down, but they got some nerfs in their rules. We'll see in the Dataslate and stuff. So Primus went down. So Genestealer Cult, overall, once we look at the rules, we'll see that they're actually easier to deal with. Grey Knights, just the Land Raider changes that everybody's getting, so that doesn't affect much. Agents, nobody runs pure agents. And the allied versions didn't get changed. Imperial Knights, this is in line with their book coming out, I'm assuming. So for like the next week or so, some of their stuff will be cheaper. But then the rules change, and there's some rule changes for them before it drop. So I think this is fine. Votan, book just came out, no changes. Necrons, Praetorians went down. Silent King went down, but we'll see this in the Dataslate. That's with the rule change he got, that's not a problem. Orcs are going to be a problem. They got some rules buffs, and they're way cheaper on a lot of stuff now. Or not way cheaper, but a lot of stuff got cheaper, so they're going to have more stuff. Space Marines, Aggressors went down for a big man, big squad. 10-man JPIs went up 10. Raven Guard, Blood Angels, that's the only people that's really going to affect. That shouldn't hurt us much. Ballistic Dread went up 10. That sucks. We did run those sometimes. Blade Guard went up 10 for 6 models. We're normally running Head Takers instead, so now they're the same point as Head Takers. I was hoping Head Takers would come down to their old point cost. Instead, they brought them up to us, so that's fine. Valiant went down. Both Land Raider variants went down, or 2 of the Land Raider variants went down. Redemptor went down to 195. So I'm doing my Champion Defenders for this coming up GT, but I may play around with some of those after. And then Gilliman got another point hike. Now this is what really hurts. Arjack went up 10 points. Probably deserved, but that sucks. Like, we haven't really been like wrecking the meta or having a crazy win percent, so I don't know why we got hit this hard early. 20-man Bloodclaw went up. This really, I believe, only affects top competitive play at like WTC type terrain. Olivier and them are doing well with this. But on GW terrain, a 20-man's really hard to hide. So you can still run like a 10-man with Ragnar and Rapid Ingress it, and I think it still works fine. Ragnar did go up 10, though. This is the one that hurts the most, though. Thunderwolves. Up 15 for the 3-man and up another 10 for the 6-man. So if you're running Thunderwolf heavy, you're going to lose like a scout squad or an intercept. You're going to lose something out of your list if you want to keep all of that in there. So just to make it a little harder to play the missions. So this is actually a significant nerf for us, I believe. Ragnar and Arjack aren't that big. Bloodclaws, I don't think, really affect top competitive play on GW terrain, which is mainly what I play on. So none of that really concerns me too much. But the Thunderwolf Cav change will be really big. Tau got a bunch of drops. Broadsides, Commander Farsight, battle suits. So Tau got a slight buff there. Land Raider down. Thousand Suns got a lot of point hikes and a bunch of rule changes. So Thousand Suns actually got nerfed pretty hard. The robots and their Terminators went down a little bit. Tyranids, Tervigon went down. Moloch, Neurolictor. Gene Stealers went down for a 10-man. I don't think that's super significant at all. It doesn't really change that matchup too much. World Eaters, Angron went down. The Land Raider, Terminators, and the 8-bound. Spawns, Forge Fiend, and Karn went up. So some of the stuff that was in every list went up, and some of the stuff that was in about half the list went down. So you'll probably see a little more of that stuff. And that's it for the points. So we will go back and look at some more specific space. So we'll go to the balanced data slate. So Sisters, they get to add one to hit roll and wound roll as well on Retributor squads, and with the point drop. So I think you'll see Retributors a little more in Sisters, but you don't see a lot of Sisters players. It's kind of a I don't know what I'm looking for. Not unique, but something you don't see a lot of people play. Custodes, no changes. Admech, they changed some of Call's abilities. I think it might have been Battle Round before they changed it to Command Phase. Basically, he can put Oath on one unit. I believe we had to give like an aura before, so now it's just straight. Basically, he picks a unit and Admech get Oath against it. His Pioneeric Courage gives +1 OC to units near him. Now Shroud Psalm gives stealth to a unit. Then they got a bunch of weapon changes. The Atomizer, Melta 3 shots, D6 damage. 3d3 shots, and changed his sustained hits 1. Went up to strength 10. And let's hear. These both got twin linked. This got -1 AP. This got 4 attacks. This got 3 attacks. Once again, Admech is kind of something you don't see a lot of. So I don't think this really affects us too much unless you happen to have a couple local AdMech players for you personally. But in general, I don't think this changes a lot. Eldari, no real changes. Astra Militarum, nothing. Templars, no. Blood Angels and Carmine Blade hits on 2s now, and the Spear hits on 2s and gets an extra attack. So they did get the point increase, but now they hit better. So we'll see if that balances that out at all. Demons, Legion of Excess got a buff. I don't think that changes too much. Chaos Knights, this is big. Thermalific Surge used to give them a 5-up invul and a 6-up Field of Pain. Now they choose one of the two. So that's a nerf to Chaos Knights. Their Claim for the Dark God stratagem is now only on their turn. So they can't be marking stuff like twice a turn and stuff like some of them did. And then the Knight Abominates can't stack their mortal wounds anymore. Because now only one, your unit can only hit by 1 per turn. So this is a kind of a bigger nerf. These two are kind of big. This one's, I guess they're all kind of big. So Chaos Knights got hit. Chaos Marines, nothing. Dark Angels, Lionel. Now gets to choose 2 of his abilities. So that's a good thing for Dark Angels. Death Guard, nothing, which is a little surprising considering they hit us and left Death Guard alone in points and rules. Nothing for Death Watch. Drukari, nothing. Emperor's Children. 4 attacks on the Bliss Blade for the Flawless Blades. And now he can move over features that are 4 inches or less in height. I don't know that there's a lot of those on the table most of the time. The little ruins are already 2 inches or less, so everybody can move over them. And the big ones are normally like 5 or more. So I don't know what this really affects much, but it's there. Gene Stealer Cult, we got a lot of it. So the resurgent points here are 4 now. They can move cult ambush tokens with the strat instead of just letting you destroy it. One of their better strats went up to 2 CP. Now, enter your opponent's fight phase once GLs come up from army. All right, so you can send a unit back into reserves at the end of your opponent's fight phase now, whereas it used to be, I believe, when you shot them, they could go back in reserve. So that's a big nerf for them. Not sure exactly what that does. I don't see a lot of Gene Stealer Cult. So end of their force step of your opponent's movement phase. So I guess this stops them from rapid ingressing with this. Now they can only come in within 6 on your turn, which is kind of weird because now you can charge them or shoot them for the most part. So that's interesting. And then the Primus now adds 1 to the hit roll instead of reroll the wounds, which with their sustained critical strat going up to 2, that's a real nerf to that combo. Grey Knights are fine, nothing. Agents, no real changes this time. Imperial Knights, they did nerf all this stuff down to 1 knight. I believe it was 3 knights before. And I believe they could reroll advances, but now they just get assault. So some little changes there. Leagues of Votan, nothing. This is the big thing on the Silent King. Relentless March used to be his ignore modifier. Now it just adds to the move characteristics of their models in the unit. That is big for us. Because now they don't ignore our -1 damage, and if you're running bold, they can't ignore, or -1 to wound. If you're running bold, they can't ignore the -1 damage. If you're running Champions of Fenris, they can't ignore the stealth. So this actually really helps us into that matchup. If you're running Stormlance, which a lot of people like to run, it doesn't ignore the -1 to hit, -1 to wound for mounted. It doesn't ignore Armor of Contempt anymore. So this is a really nice change for us into that Necron matchup. Orcs, Gazgul can lead boys and knobs now. He only counts as 4 for getting in the battle wagon. Commandos can combat squad. Death Dreads now do devs on the charge. Bubble Chuckers just roll once for the unit now instead of per model. And the kill rig becomes monster instead of vehicle. So it no longer tank shocks. Does help it with moving through terrain a little bit. This will actually help them into like Eldar, because I believe fire dragons get rerolls against vehicles. I'm not sure if they get it against monsters, but I believe it's just against vehicles. So if that's true, that'll help them there. Marines, don't see anything. We do have a little FAQ, so there's nothing here, but we do have change. Tau Empire. Thousand Suns now can only attempt to manifest rituals once instead of just being able to cast them successfully once. And then their Doom Bolt that takes it to twice on that once per game thing. And then they changed Marked by Fate. Select one of your unit visits. Like when you get add one to the hit roll. This was probably a reroll before. I don't remember for sure. But this is a big change. So now they only get, if they fail their move thing, they don't get to do it. So all their abilities are now one attempt, and if you fail it, you don't get it. So that, in addition to their points increased, really nerfs Thousand Suns. Tyranids, don't see anything new there. World Eaters, each time they get a +1 damage against monster and vehicles for the 8-bound. The Slaughterbound would get that if you attach the unit. He goes up to Strength 10, which is a weird breakpoint for us because, especially on like our Terminators, Strength 9 -1 to wound, you want to be on 4s. Strength 10 -1 to wound, now he's going to 3s. So that does affect us a little bit. It doesn't affect Thunderwolves because 9 and 10 still wound them the same. But that's that. All right, so that's all the balanced data slate. Chapter approved tournament companion. This is a significant change for everybody. This is really good for us. Basically, challenger cards are no longer tournament legal. Space Wolves, I find, play a good game of pressing early and tanking your opponent's primary, which with challenger cards was a problem because then they could make up like 6 to 9 points late game to kind of skew that primary imbalance that you try to establish, which is what makes Wolves successful, I found. So with that gone, we can play that game plan a little more reliably without them just finding random points or strats that just we can't plan for. So that's really good. I just think that's good for tournament play in general. All right. Don't need to look at any of this really other than the Space Wolf one. Oh, we got the Core's rules update. We'll look at that one too. So the Space Wolf one. Basically, so when you're choosing your Beast Slayer, counting what your tally is, you have to include units that are embarked. That's fine. Logan now affects all reserves, not just strategic. This is a big change for us because, as anyone who watches the channel knows, I like to run the 10-man Terminator squad, and if they had Arjack or a Logan with them, if I put them in strategic to bring them in turn 1, I really couldn't put anything else in strategic. So now I can put them in regular reserves, and then I could put like Thunderwolf Cav or Blood Claws or something like that in strategic. Now I can still deep strike the Terminators turn 1 out of regular reserves, and then you could bring in like the Thunderwolves or the Blood Claws with Ragnar or something like that turn 2, and have the ability to bring it in your opponent's deployment zone. So that's just a nice change, just quality of life. Or even if you didn't want to bring them in your opponent's, you could still rapid ingress them turn 2, the second squad, because you have the ability to put them in reserve now, whereas you didn't before if you wanted to bring that Turner brick in turn 1. So that's a good quality of life change for us. Just gives us some more flexibility with reserves. And this is all the old stuff. And then the Core's rules update. Oh, if this thing will load. All right. What do we have here? Let's look for red print. I don't know that there was a lot in here. But while we're scrolling, let's talk about the wolf stuff. Logan's buff is real nice for us. The Arjack and Ragnar points increase isn't a big thing. The 20-man Blood Claw doesn't affect most lists, so that's fine. The Thunderwolf one is the one that's really, really rough for all of us in general. Oh, here it goes. When resolving a unit's attacks with multiple damage characteristics, each with devastating wounds, or the mortal wounds at the end of the unit's attacks inflicted in the same order in which they were initially sequenced. Yes. All right. So this is just clarifying the way dev wounds work. So say let's just use one of our uses. Say our axes had dev wounds, and our power fist had dev wounds. You swing the axes first and the power fists, and you get dev wounds on both. So basically, you would resolve all the saves for the axes, all the saves for the power fists, and then go to the dev wound stage. And in that stage, you would resolve all the wounds for the axes and then all the wounds for the power fists in the same order. So you basically resolve them in the same order as you resolve the other attacks. I guess that was a bad example because they're all 2 damage. But if you had something that was 3 damage and something that was 2 damage, whichever one you swung first and they took saves for first, that would be the same. They would also do those first with dev wounds. So you couldn't do the 2 damage, then the 3 damage, and like, oh, do the 3 damage now because it's more beneficial to you. It's if you do the 2 damage first for saves, you do the 2 damage first for mortals. So it's just something to think about when you roll your attacks for your sequencing. And I believe that was the only change here. Go through the commentary real quick. Yeah, I don't think there's any else. There's a minor change, which really was the way I played it, which is the way it was intended to be, but I guess some people were trying to game that, so they had to clarify it. Yeah, I don't. I saw some red. You can embark with a friendly transport with a base after every monolith unit ends a normal advance or fallback move. All right, so just clarifying that to get back in a transport, every model has to end the move within 3 inches. I guess before maybe it was unit, so people were doing like fallbacks and getting only partially the unit there. All right, so that's the way that should have been. I guess it only really affects like Eldar. Maybe if you're running Grey Knights, and then sometimes like falling back. Yeah, so that's it for that. Was there anything else we needed to get into? No, that's it for that stuff. So that's the changes. So Wolves, a little bit of a hit. I think we're still okay. We may have to run a little less Thunderwolves in some lists. Or if you're going for the Thunderwolf GL type list still, you just lose some of your back end mission play. But now the Challenger cards are gone. Those couple secondaries you lose, hopefully they're bounced out by them not getting Challengers if you jump the scoreboard on primary really early on them. So we'll see how that shakes out. I wish they'd left us alone, but I don't think we're like unplayable now or anything. Honestly, my champion defenders list, we'll get into that right now actually, only went up 10 points. Oh, what is happening here? All right. Because I didn't have any Thunderwolves, I didn't have Ragnar, I wasn't running on Bullockles. The only thing that went up in the Champions of Fenris was Arjak. What's this? Oh, I don't have a Warlord selected. Obviously, Logan's the Warlord. All right, so it says Arjak at 95 here because they haven't updated this. So what we basically have to do here is find 10 points. And what I ended up doing was the options were, because a Combi Lieutenant could go down to a ATV, same with the Scouts could become an ATV. Intercessors or the Outriders could become Scouts. Those are some of the options, but I had been playing around with whether I wanted the Captain or the Librarian. The Captain gives you the free CP and the reroll on charges, but the Librarian gives you sustained hits on the Terminator squad. So I've been going back and forth on this, but this just kind of sealed that for me. So what we're able to do, did we add him? There we go. No, not Librarian on bike. All right, anyway, we got to delete a Librarian on bike real quick. Go away. All right, so take Librarian Terminator. We give him the same enhancement that we gave to the other guy, Wolf's Wisdom, so they can do the. He's going to run with the Thunderhammer Storm Shield 5-man, so they can do the 6-inch. Not that's old heroic, like 6-inch charge on your opponent's turn. Within 6 inches of you, charge your opponent on their turn. The Championship Finish rule. So that actually now gives us 10 points because this should be at 1990 when he goes up. So my thought was here. I end up dropping the Combi Lieutenant, and this also combines with the Logan rule. because I can put Logan's squad and Arjak's squad, both with 10-mans in reserve like I normally do, and that's 895 points. So it leaves me 105 points. So I can put another squad in reserve, and what I ended up taking is a rear squad. So now if you want to, depending on the matchup, you can start them on the table and scout them, get the -1 OC, but I give them all the grapnel launchers and reaver shoots so they can deep strike. So now you could put them in reserve with Logan in them and rapid ingress or something later to possibly threaten your opponent's home objective, because charging OC, a unit that gives -1 OC onto that objective, is kind of nice. And then their infantry, so if they don't come back and kill them, you could sticky that objective and then push out. Like, just gives you some play into their backfield, but you also could just scout, use them to help sticky your expansion or something. And if an enemy charges in, unless they're battle line, they have to kill all the reavers or basically not have OC on your objective. Unless they're bouncers. So anything OC2. If anything OC1 charges into the reavers and leaves one guy alive, they're not controlling that objective. So that's just a really, really nice play. I've been thinking about putting reavers back in the list. I was debating between them and outriders for the last 80 points before, but now we're just going to take them instead of the combi lieutenant, which I think honestly makes the list a little better. So there's certain situations where the captain's better than the librarian, certain situations where the librarian's better. That's a hero, that's a 50-50, but the reavers over the combi lieutenant, I believe, at least for my playstyle, will end up being an overall improvement. So let's just go ahead and look at this list. I got some playtesting to do today, next Wednesday as well, and then we're going to be taking it to the GT because our submission date is next Wednesday. So we'll get that playtest game in and then submit and let you guys know if I make any tweaks. But we got Arjak running with a 10-man Terminator squad, Logan running with a 10-man Terminator squad, Wolfguard, Librarian Terminator running with a 5-man Assault Terminator squad, Bjorn, Intercessor for sticky in our home, Reavers for -1 OC, helping with our expansion, threatening their expansion, threatening their home. Just depends on the matchup and how things lay out. Scouts early, scoring some middle points, which I like to do, the Assault Squad. And then a third Wolfguard Terminator squad that will run by itself. And then an Outrider squad to harass the middle board, their little screening and action monkey units. So I'm really liking the look of this list. We'll see how it plays, but thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for watching Almost Functional Gaming. We appreciate the support of all followers of Russ and the Allfather. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, check out our merch store and Almost Functional Score Tracker on Amazon. Everything helps support the growth of this channel, and we appreciate it.